Okay, so we talked about digestion in the mouth and how chewing breaks it up, and the saliva adds a lot of enzymes to help break it down. And we talked about how the food goes down into the stomach and how the stomach adds both chemical, such as HCl, and enzymes, as well as the physical churning of the stomach, so chemical and mechanical digestion. And then food kind of leaves the stomach, and right at the small intestine, we talked about the role of the pancreas and how it neutralizes the acid that comes out. And then it also adds a lot of digestive enzymes. And we talked about the role of the liver. So now we are moving into the small intestine, and that's where the food is absorbed. So if you look at the small intestine, it actually has lots of surface area, and that's really good because you want all the opportunity of the food to get the nutrients of the food to get into the body. So we have inside we have these little kind of folds, and then each one of these folds has these little finger-like projections, and then each one of those finger-like projections has tiny little cells. So all of these are tiny little cells. So, and that's where food gets digested. Okay, so again, the different layers are the mucosa here, the muscularis here, and the serosa. Okay. And so the movement of the small intestine is segmentation. So it's kind of alternating contractions. So we talked about movement in the esophagus, which is peristalsis. We talked about movement in the stomach, which is churning. And now we're talking about movement in the small intestine, which is a segmentation. And that is kind of like alternating squeezing, so like a contraction of the small intestine. And that's really good because not only is that going to help break down the food, but it also gets the food in contact with these cells. And then the nutrients are actually going to pass through and then into the bloodstream. Okay, so there's lots of different receptors that bind different nutrients that carry those nutrients inside the body and then into the blood. And so now we have the large intestine. So it goes from the small intestine to the large intestine, and not too much happens in the large intestine. So some water is absorbed. We also have a lot of bacteria that produces some of the vitamins that we need. So vitamin biotin as well as vitamin K are two of the vitamins that we can get from the bacteria in our digestive system, in our colon. So this is a little bit slower. So this very slow movement. And then the food travels out, and then it's released through the rectum. Okay. And we also have the appendix here. So this is the appendix. And there's lots of different hypotheses about the role of the appendix. So I think the current one is that this is probably the storage of those essential bacteria that are important in our digestive system. So they think that if something happens in the large intestine, that we always have a little bit of storage of the bacteria. So I don't know if that'll always be the hypothesis. It'll be something different because I learned something different when I was young. Okay, and then it comes out to the rectum, and we have muscles, again, we can finally control here. So sphincters, and then it's released. And a lot of people have colon cancer. That's not a lot, but some people. So it is important if you're over 50 to have your colon checked. So there are lots of different disorders about the digestive system. Many people have GERD or gastroesophageal reflux disease. So that little sphincter that connects the esophagus to the stomach doesn't function quite right. So we can get a little bit of acid that comes out, and that can really hurt your esophagus, and it can be quite painful. But drugs such as antacids can help. And many people also suffer from food intolerance. So some people might have lactose intolerance, and that's pretty common. So they aren't able to drink milk because they don't have the enzymes to break down the sugar lactose. It's actually in the world, lactose intolerance is most common in adults. So in this country, it's not as common because we drink milk. Many people drink milk throughout their life. but for many people in the world, they don't drink milk. Okay. But sometimes you can get lactose-free milk or take enzymes. And many people have gluten intolerance too. So lots of different digestive diseases. So I think the digestive system is kind of fun and interesting and easy. Okay, yeah, I hope you enjoy it.